the Bible in general is, I think a lot of people really struggle with it because kind of what you mentioned, your perspective was like, here's the, I guess, answer sheet in a way. A lot of people have that idea of like the Bible is just this like moral handbook or this rule book or this guide. And, I think like what, and correct me if I don't get the exact words correct, but it's kind of tagline is like the Bible's one story that leads to Jesus. Is that roughly
Hmm.
correct?
Hmm.
Yeah. And so I think that like for people like reapproaching the scripture, beginning to like look at it from that frame and that viewpoint, um, is I think really, really helpful for people. Because what I've found is people don't really have an issue with Jesus when it comes to like
Yeah.
Christianity. And so if they can reframe reading the Bible with that approach, I think it's really helpful, or it at least has been for me.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Like I think that this reference book mentality that's we often have of the Bible. I was kind of given that paradigm of the Bible as maybe a theology reference book, like all the answers you about who God is and how salvation works and how the universe works and all that stuff. Like all the answers are in here. You can find them all, and so it becomes like a theology textbook,
Yeah.
um, or a moral handbook kind of reference book. Like how do you make the right decisions? You know what is good and not good to do in any given situation. Um, Consult the Bible. It's a moral handbook. These reference book mentality of the Bible, they have a really good intuition. And the good intuition is the Bible does want to tell us about God in the universe. And the Bible does want to tell us about what it means to live a good life and be in right relationships with each other and in creation. But it doesn't do it as a reference book. And so then the question is, well, how does it do it? And the language we try to put to it is it does it as meditation literature. I quoted Psalm 1, blessed is the one who meditates on God's instruction day and night. He becomes like a tree of life. And that the idea of meditation is like in Hebrew, it's the word Haggah. It means to, it's the sound that a pigeon makes when it like is like a Haggah, or it's the sound that a lion makes when it eats its food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Haggah. So it's just like it's this muttering out loud or just kind of churning on something. Um, and so the idea is that you actually just come to these texts and you speak them out loud in your mind, you churn them around, and you just kind of like let them shape you. Like you come to it like you would come to art. You just kind of you just appreciate and you try to appreciate the beauty of what it is. Um, and so meditation literature, um, the reason why it will actually shape us and tell us how to live a good life and tell us about who God is because it wants to impart to us wisdom, but it does so by us meditating on it, by us making connections with it, by us wrestling with the questions that it poses and holding those questions in tension while we continue to read the Bible and letting the Bible, like almost watching the Bible wrestle with it uh, with you, and then beginning to see how it's resolving these things in these kind of unexpected ways. While you're doing that, it's shaping your mind and heart and giving you wisdom. And so it's meditation literature, it's to be wisdom literature. Um, and it's just uh when we talk about it in the abstract, it kind of just, I don't know, it can sound kind of hocus pocus maybe, but like when you sit down and you read the Bible kind of with this paradigm, Tim does it. I mean, I do it with Tim all the time in our podcast episodes. He has classes that we have online that are free where he just sits down with students and they're just reading through passages and they're using this paradigm. You get it immediately. Like you start doing it and you're like, oh, I get it. It's
Yeah.
like very intuitive. It's like our minds were built to process reality and text and art like in this way. So, if that sounds really abstract, maybe just like pull up a classroom class or listen to a podcast and you'll be like, oh, okay, I
Yeah, they're
see it, I feel it.
yeah, it's good
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. The classroom stuff, I really enjoy that. I enjoy all of it, but
Oh,
I've really
cool.
enjoyed the classroom stuff. Those are cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, the with the Bible, I don't remember who I heard say it. I think I heard Rob Bell say it actually and reference it, but he says that when rabbis they kind of talk about the scripture, it's kind of like a prism that if you shine light through it, and every time you turn it, the light comes through in a different kind of way,
Mm,
and that the scriptures are very similar in that kind of way where like if you when you begin to look at it from a number of different angles, it begins to shine light in on our wisdom and give us different pieces of information that it's trying to communicate. And I think that you see that in the midrash that they have and things like
mhm.
that, and that stuff's I think really just really interesting.